Hello, visionary. So I got such incredible feedback with the readings I did in Spiritualized Human Design, the Facebook group, that I'm going to start doing more weekly readings. And the readings come from my intuitive guides, and I'm going to work with the Osho Zen deck. I'm going to pull 5 cards. Think of a card between 1 and 5, a number. I also want to be looking at the human design through the mystical, through the encounter. When you look at your human design chart based on rave cosmology, what you're looking at is the mystical experiences that might happen throughout your life, what Ra Uruhu calls the encounters. So, one of the things that distinguishes my work is that I am a spiritual practitioner and I had spiritual awakenings since I was 20, traveling the world with shamans. And the awakenings happened to me like breakthroughs and consistently building over time. So Ra Uru had an encounter that lasted 8 days. It was very specific to him as a person. And most of my clients are spiritual practitioners that have different types of spiritual awakenings. And so there's a lot of ways to look at your human design chart. And when you use the encounter, you use Ra Uruhu's aura mechanics of the encounter, you can help guide people through spiritual awakenings and occurrences that are happening that are unexplainable in logic terms and practical terms. It's spiritual aligned with your design. And what I love about human design is it takes these spiritual experiences and helps you to practically ground and live as a spiritual practitioner, which most other spiritual teachings don't. As a matter of fact, human design gave me what I needed in order to actualize my life as a spiritual practitioner. I asked my community to comment, reply, and be active in my group, and I would choose a chart to do a reading. So one of my clients also sent me a spiritual awakening that she's having. So I want to use her chart for the mystical reading in the human design reading that I'm going to be doing after this tarot reading. So I hope you stay with me. This might be kind of a long video, but I want to start doing weekly readings as well as human design readings. And feel free to be participating, comment, like the video, share. Let me know in the description below, and you will go into the drawing for the next reading that I do. So I'm going to be using the Osho Zen deck. The cards are worn. You might even see cards that have my dog Bijou, who has bitten on a few of them. This is how long this deck has been with me when she was a puppy. And to me, it's still sacred, and all of my joyful and insightful experiences I've had with the deck are important. Some people have different views about how to use their tarot cards. So I'm going to choose 5 cards. So choose a number between 1 and 5. And the first card is Source. And so the way I see number 1, the way I see this source card is that when you're accessing something greater than you, at first you may feel it as an inkling. You may feel a movement of love or a frequency moving through the body. You may feel shifts, tingling. Everyone experiences source differently. But once you hook in and allow source to be a part of your life, you can really surrender to the power of the co-creative energy that comes through your vehicle. And as Ross said in the encounter, we're all looking to co-create with multidimensional beings. He lists them as the aliens, the entities, the gods, the angels, the demons, and the ghosts. And these frequencies come through us depending on how we're able to align and channel the vibrations. They come through us to provide higher wisdom, just as human design came to Ra to provide higher wisdom for the planet, how to actualize, how to live a better, more fulfilling life. So, if you chose number one, the message for you today is how can you let Source more directly connect through your vehicle and guide your life? This is about being more aligned with the passenger consciousness, letting the vehicle rule and letting Source come through. Number two, tuning within. So if you are and chose number two, this card, tuning within, this means that it's your time not to consider the to-do list, the things that are happening with the family, anything that's occurring on TV, anything in the news. It's not about that for you right now. Tuning in is about letting go of anything externally and taking the time to go deeper in, to unplug and allow the inner world to take hold and really marinate within, deep in the spaces of silence, the inner realm. This is your time to not worry if there's drama, not worry if people are talking about you or there's something gripping you out there. It's time to go inside and trust your inner wisdom. If you chose card number three, your card is completion. What this is the universe card in traditional tarot decks. And the way I see completion is there's some part of your life that is embodying and encompassing a stage of development where it's seed, root, and it's time to close the chapter. Sometimes that means that a piece of work that you've done is over. Maybe it has to do with a karmic pattern that you're ready to let go of, a behavior that's been bubbling up that you know isn't healthy for you. And it's time to end it gently, lovingly, and letting the universe move you into things that are more healthy for you. Oftentimes, the universal drive within moves you towards the sensation of this. This might be healthy for you. This might feel good for you, and it pulls you into those frequencies. So sometimes it's about seeing something new is the way to complete. Maybe it's a dynamic that you're over with. Maybe you're done with the dramas. Maybe you're done with something that happened with your family. You're ready to put an end to that chapter. So something is complete. It doesn't mean anything's negative. It doesn't mean that there's a breakup, but it might mean that something within that relationship, the wisdom you needed in that situation has now fully been embodied in your consciousness. You've learned something and you're ready to move on. Card number four, the flowering. The flowering. So this is a beautiful card that represents your ability to show your gifts, your ability to expose your beauty, to be seen, and also might be a message to reveal a little more, come out a little more powerfully and deeply to the world. Maybe you have something inside that you've been hiding. For example, this reading for me is an exposure of more of my spiritual gifts, my guides that come through my chart are entities like Ra Uru, the voice. My guides are called Amori. They also come through aliens, which is my innocence. The six comes through as blue dimensional beings that support me in the vibration and the frequency of love. They come to me with the name Amori. And so letting them speak and be part of my guidance and intuitive readings is new for me. That's what flowering is. It's showing new gifts and being willing to expose new aspects of yourself. And sometimes it's a little bit scary, but the maturity is the flowering. In the same analogy I used before, the seed, it's taken the roots and sprouted, and the flower is that time when you're ready to reveal what's been going on underneath the surface. So the fifth and final card. Oh, here it is again. Innocence. I love it. So this was a card again in the last reading, and I see themes. Why I like to use the same cards is because I see themes. And when themes show up weekly, or if you do daily readings, you know that that's the theme, the process that you're in. For me, the innocence is a big process. It's part of my motivation. So if you know your motivations, it really helps to lean into your movement forward. So even though I'm an entrepreneur and I am definitely driven for success, success is part of being a projector. I also have the 2644, which is the material drive. There's also a deep also surrender to that channel, and the innocence is a way to move forward in my business, but without big heavy agendas, and with just being present to the unfolding, the beauty, the gifts, the service work that I'm here to do. So if you got number 5, the message for you about innocence is really finding that inner child. What is the joy? How can you bring more joy out? How can you fall back in your life, your business, your holiday season, your children? How can you laugh a little more, have a little more fun, do something you've never done before? Maybe wake up and find a different morning routine, or go to a different um, weekend adventure with the family. Add something into your day that brings just a little more joy for your inner child. The beautiful thing about wisdom is that it's not a child, it's the wise older man who sits after a lifetime of coming back to the innocence in the heart, all the wisdom that has gained through that journey. So the message for you is to tap back in and understand that now is the time to see the knowledge and the wisdom in the innocence. So I hope that was helpful. I am going to now pull up the chart and do my encounter reading. And I will also be doing these in more charts. If you've had spiritual awakenings and you want me to look at your chart, I will be happy to do that. So okay, so here's the human design chart for the mystical reading. And I want to share with you what it means to do an encounter reading. First, we are looking at the triggers for the encounter. Now, this beautiful woman who has been a client and also an incredible friend in my life has had many spiritual experiences, and she recently had a spiritual awakening where she started downloading new languages, new information, and she was able to see things in a new way. She's being inspired to move deeper into natural medicine and to see AI implants and able to remove things more spiritually and psychically in a way that she's never had before. So, when you're looking at the mystical reading through the encounter in your human design chart, you're looking at a few things. First, you're looking at tribal hanging gates. She actually only has two right here off of her ego. This is the 26 in the hanging position, meaning it's a hanging gate that pulls in what Ra calls triggers. The trigger is in a chain when it comes to spiritual awakenings, or what Ra calls encounters. This awakening is pulled in from, in her case, business experiences. Her transformation is being called in from this energy of the gate 26. What we're seeing here is that when you pull in a trigger, it's usually an intensity that happens within relationships, family dynamics, or in her case, it's something to do with the expansion of business that awakened new levels of her chart. When you have an encounter, it opens up the door for the guides to come in. So her encounter happened here in this hanging tribal gate. Now, if you have several hanging tribal gates, it's not necessarily going to come from one area. She has only these two. So it's definitely coming from the 26. And the energies here are emotional from her moon, the Neptune as well. And you see it in three lines, the line 3, the line 5, and the 6. This means that all of her encounters were triggered by a lot of various sources. It could be an entity, it could be the ghost, which means some type of mediumship, or the aliens, which is probably where she's getting the AI intelligence. This is the trigger where this is all coming from. And these energies are circling and being pulled in through the electromagnetic, that some type of, probably from what I would guess, is that in her business, there was some type of reaction. So when you have a chemical reaction caused from a hanging tribal gate, imagine what it's like to get stabbed in the back by a coworker, or get pushed or fired, or losing money, or conversely gaining money, having a huge influx of success, business growth, business expansion. So I don't know exactly what her trigger was. That's for her to contemplate, but the trigger started something that created a chemical reaction in the body. You know this if you've ever had someone steal from you. It's not an intellectual experience. Your whole body reacts there's a physiological reaction of something extreme, like a trigger. Now, the energies of this trigger ignited the next chain of events, which then goes into her motivation, which is need, which is the guide for, which is the gods. So this is about heavy, intense source code, original source energy. The original source bundle is what Ra calls the gods, where it's the higher level vibrational frequencies coming through to support and guide and awaken her and bring her to the channeling vibration and frequency of the 5, which has to do with her profile. Always in profile, it harmonizes to the 4, 5, or 6. So it's either going to be a 4, 5, or 6, or the 1, 2, and 3. The 1 goes to the 4, the 2 goes to the 5, the 3 goes to the 6. Not to complicate this, but her energy she's channeling is what Ra called the entities, which was what the voice was. So don't let the word scare you. It's about a high vibrational frequency that's able to download through her vehicle. Now, what that does is it then turns on the connection she has already right here through the clairvoyance. So when you have a defined head and ajna, she's here to amplify vision, and this clairvoyance is coming in to give her new insight. And also, what it does is it turns on the intensity of this gate 57, which is the most psychic gate in her in all of human design. So what it does is it brings all of the channels and the gates to their highest level of clairvoyancy. And the clairvoyant gifts are contained within the human design chart. A lot of people don't see that, but if you're not a spiritual practitioner, you won't see that. But Ra did talk about it. He didn't talk about it a lot, but he went through it in Rave Cosmology, which is why I teach that, why it's so important to me. So now her psychic gifts are turning on. And the way she's probably getting the medical intuition and her medical awareness through AI, one is, like I said, through these alien guides that have come through these tribal triggers, and also this completely open G center where she's able to merge into the fields. Also, her 59-6 is aura busting. So she's able to merge into the fields of other people and see new things. The downloading of the light language is coming through, I think, this awakening through the channeling ability that usually comes from defined head and ajna, because you don't have the competing voices and the absorption of all of the ideas to distract her from the knowledge and the channeling that's coming through. So there's a lot that's been ignited. The things to be aware of in this type of spiritual encounter is, one, making sure you know what's yours and what's not yours, not distorting the information, which is the transference of need is fear. So if any of the knowledge is coming through fear based, if any of the knowledge isn't coming from the highest original source, God code, then and she distracts it through this vibration frequencies of fear. So if the knowledge is coming through to be afraid of this or don't do this, and there's any fear, that could be the distortion of the mind misinterpreting the higher vibrational frequencies. And making sure she really knows what's hers and what's not hers, particularly what she's being driven towards, looking for, constantly trying to find direction, trying to find love and direction. That's the theme of the not self of the G center. So it's very important to be very, very clear on how this G center is operating at the not self theme, because it's intensified as she's turning on all of these spiritual gifts. So I hope that was fun and insightful for you all to have a little bit more information of where the energy might be for you depending on the tarot reading, and also how to imagine and utilize the mystical awakenings within your own chart. So I look forward to seeing you in our group, and I'll put some links in the description below so you can participate and share your experiences from that reading. So I'm going to be doing these more often, and I'm super grateful for all of you being part of our community. Please let me know which card you chose and in the comments below so that I can hear from your experience. Blessings, everyone. Super grateful for you. Have a beautiful rest of your day.